At 8:59 a.m., a tow truck the size of a small house parked in front of my driveway, air brakes hissing like it was announcing the end of the world. And 30 seconds later, before I could even finish my coffee, Karen Brennan was in handcuffs, screaming that she'd burn my house down. I remember standing there thinking, yep, this is how my Thursday morning is going. And honestly, none of it surprised me, because everything had already begun weeks earlier at 6:30 a.m. on the quietest Saturday of my life. I was drinking coffee sunlight slanting through the blinds, that peaceful kind of suburban calm where you hear sprinklers, not drama. Then came the knock, sharp, impatient, the exact rhythm I remembered from years of HOA tyranny. I didn't even need to check the peephole. Only one person knocked like they were serving a warrant. I opened the door, and there she was, Karen Brennan. Thinner than before, sure, but the eyes, exactly the same, cold, cutting, entitled. 18 months in prison hadn't softened her. It had sharpened her. She stepped forward, no invitation, and asked, "Are you still here? I thought you would have moved." Real warm greeting. Then she said it like she was reclaiming the Iron Throne. "I'm going to take back what's mine. This neighborhood needs real leadership." I almost laughed. Last time she was leader, she'd fined an old man for the wrong color roses and tried foreclosing on a family because their trash can was visible for 10 minutes. She'd embezzled from the HOA. She'd bullied anyone who dared breathe near a rule book. And now she thought she could just respawn, slide right back into power like her prison sentence was a timeout. I told her as calmly as I could, "There's already a president. Claire was elected while you were away." And Karen's lip curled like she'd tasted something rotten. She stormed off, but not toward her home. No, she did a full reconnaissance mission, walking house to house, snapping pictures, writing notes, zooming in on mailboxes, skateboards, lawn edges. She looked like a mall cop on steroids, except no one had hired her. That was the moment I knew whatever she planned next wouldn't be small. And boy, I was right. 3 days later, I found the first letter in my mailbox. No stamp. No official envelope, just her handwriting, the same handwriting she used for the hundreds of violation notices she'd tossed around like confetti years ago. 7 citations. 7. Everything from my porch light to my grass to the weathering on my mailbox. She demanded I fix it all in 48 hours or pay $500 per day in fines. And she signed it acting HOA president. She wasn't acting president. She wasn't anything. She was a resident who'd just committed fraud with a printer and bold confidence. But the worst part, everyone else got the same letter. Elderly Mrs. Patterson cried while showing me hers. The Martinez family panicked. The Hendersons thought they'd lose their home. Karen had weaponized fear again, and it worked at least for a moment. I walked door to door collecting letters, photographing everything, telling people to breathe. I promised them we would handle it. I didn't know how yet, but I knew we couldn't let her rule this neighborhood again. My lawyer Miles told me to sit tight. "Let her make a documented mistake," he said. "The more she does, the deeper her hole gets." But I didn't expect her next mistake to come at 2:14 a.m. on a Thursday. My phone vibrated with a motion alert. I grabbed it half asleep, thinking maybe it was a raccoon. Nope, it was Karen. Dressed head to toe in dark clothes, crouching in my yard with a measuring tape like she was inspecting a crime scene. She measured my grass at different angles, intentionally tilting the tape so the numbers looked bigger, then photographed it like she'd uncovered FBI-level evidence. After that, she walked up my driveway and grabbed my garage door handle. Twice. She muttered to herself the whole time about violations and decline of standards. My hands shook, part fear, part disbelief. I didn't go outside. That was exactly what she wanted. Instead, I recorded everything off my camera screen with commentary, saved the files to 3 different clouds, and sent everything to Miles. Her trespassing was not a mistake. It was premeditated, and it was just the beginning. The next week was a slow-motion breakdown of everything normal. My car got keyed so deeply you could see metal. A neighbor got a fake Child Protective Services complaint filed against them. Another got a scam invoice from a random lawyer. Someone found their mailbox smashed in. Then we discovered Karen had hired a private investigator to sit on our street for hours photographing houses like he was scouting them for a heist. She wasn't spiraling, she was executing a plan. Meanwhile, I was losing it. Not outwardly, I kept helping neighbors collecting evidence, but internally I was wiped out. I hadn't slept properly in days. Every time a twig cracked outside, I checked my cameras. I started wondering if I was the problem. Maybe I should leave. Maybe I was provoking her by standing my ground. Maybe selling my house would keep everyone safer. That night, around 1 a.m., I sat in my dark kitchen staring at files and documents thinking, what if she actually wins? What if nobody can stop her? But then, I found something. A case from 2019, almost identical to ours. A former HOA president tried to reclaim power, issued fake notices, intimidated residents. The court hammered her with charges: fraud, harassment, impersonation of an HOA official. Residents won huge damages. Reading that case felt like someone had finally turned a light on in a pitch-black room. I wasn't crazy. This was real, and it was winnable. That became my turning point. I printed everything. I built a timeline. I made packets for neighbors. The community rallied. We were no longer 120 households living in fear, we were a united front. And Karen had no idea we were building a case with the force of a freight train. Then came the HOA meeting. 70 people packed into one room, tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Karen sat in the back, arms crossed, smiling like she owned every chair in there. When open forum started, she walked up, not to the microphone. No, that would have been too normal, straight to the board's table. She announced she was restoring order, slapped a thick folder down, and declared the current bylaws invalid because she hadn't been present to approve them. It would have been hilarious if it weren't terrifying. Then she threatened consequences for anyone who didn't follow the violations she sent. That was my cue. I walked up, plugged in my laptop, and played the videos: Karen trespassing at 2 a.m., manipulating angles, trying my garage door. The room went dead silent except for her voice muttering in the footage. Her face turned red, then white, then something in between. She screamed that I'd fabricated everything, that I was trying to destroy her. Security escorted her out as she shrieked threats at every single person in the room. I'll take everything from you. You'll regret this. 2 hours later, I got the text. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., you'll lose everything. I barely slept. The next morning, police hid around the neighborhood, plainclothes officers, jogging walking dogs parked in unmarked cars. I stood inside watching my security monitors, heart pounding like a drum. At 8:55, the tow truck arrived. Karen stepped out in a navy blazer like she was starring in a corporate training video. She held a folder stuffed with fake documents and announced loudly, "Your vehicle is being seized due to unpaid HOA fines. We've placed a lien. We're towing it now." The tow truck driver looked unsure. I asked him if he had real authorization. He said Karen had paid him $500. Then I called the actual HOA president on speaker. Did the board authorize a tow? Her answer was instant: absolutely not. The tow truck driver stepped back like Karen had just handed him a live grenade. She started yelling, waving papers that looked like they'd been printed on a dollar store inkjet. Then Chief Galloway's car rolled up my driveway. "Karen Brennan," she announced, "you're under arrest." Karen tried to bolt. She screamed. She ranted. And then she made her final mistake. In front of 40 witnesses and 4 officers, she spat out, "I have keys to all his houses. I'll burn them down." Every cop froze. That was it. Game over. Officers cuffed her while she kicked and sobbed and cursed everyone in sight. They put her in the patrol car as she slammed her head against the window, shouting, "This is my neighborhood. You can't take it from me." But she was wrong. Because in that moment, that exact second, the door shut and her screams muffled behind glass, the spell she'd held over this community for 15 years finally broke. And just like that, it was over. Never let someone convince you they have authority over your life just because they shout louder than everyone else.